Pat Gelsinger, Intel CEO, famously said, "Today will be the slowest day of technology innovation for the rest of your life." And perhaps there's no better example of technology innovation than what's happening today as the physical world is being connected to the internet. Computing has become woven into the fabric of everything we do and transforming industries with the power to enrich lives. And the companies that are driving these transformations are the companies within the ecosystem of edge computing, leveraging new technologies with AI capabilities, with 5G, empowered by IoT-based sensor data to drive these transformations. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the incredible technologies Advantech is building with their ecosystem to deliver on this promise. The world is changing at a record pace, accelerated by technology, and more recently, accelerated by the pandemic. Andy Grove, the former 1997 Time Person of the Year and CEO of Intel, once said, "You could be the subject of a strategic inflection point, but you can also be the cause of one," which means your business can be disrupted by new entrants or your competitors who are driving transformations, or you can be the disruptor. You could drive the transformation that's occurring in the world today. And perhaps there's no better data set that illustrates the pace of disruption than the time companies are spending on the S&P 500 index. In the 1960s, companies spent over 3 decades on the index. And within the next 10 years, the average time span on the S&P 500 will be just over a decade. And over the course of the last year, we've seen massive transformation driven by the pathogen. From the way that we work, moving to virtual environments, from the way that we order and receive goods and services, whether it's contactless payment or based on delivery, from the way we interact with the physical world, from the way that we interact within our home, transforming the environment within our home. These trends were in place prior to the pandemic, but only accelerated based on the pandemic and driving massive disruption in the physical world we live in. One of the incredible technologies that we've seen address directly the pathogen in the world today is applying deep learning to traditional medical infrastructure. And one example of that is respiratory insights. Advantech, with its partners, has been able to take traditional respiratory data, apply deep learning to the sounds in real time, and give doctors and healthcare providers early insights to challenges patients are having breathing. This is incredibly important as it pertains to a respiratory pathogen, and ultimately will help deliver better patient outcomes. That's just one example of the many reasons companies are deploying distributed computing architectures. We've recently been in this cloud computing era, but we're starting to realize all of the benefits of delivering a distributed computing architecture from the edge to the cloud. And I like to think of it under the confines of 4 laws. 1, you have the laws of physics. We're limited based on the speed of light. And if we're going to act upon this critical information at the edge, we need to act on it in near real time. The second law is the laws of economics. And as it pertains to economics, what we find is that we see tremendous growth in IoT data, far exceeding the traditional big data types of the last decade, such as social media data. This data drives us to incredible insights, but much of it has a very low half-life. It's not relevant at a later date. What we do with that is we apply analytics and deep learning to discard irrelevant data and only send up the metadata and critical insights across the network and to be stored and analyzed later in the cloud. This significantly lowers our footprint and showcases the value of edge computing. The third law are the laws of the land. We must be compliant with local and regulatory laws, whether that's GDPR for privacy or HIPAA for medical privacy. It's incredibly important. And edge computing allows us to deploy the computing up front in the architecture so that we can discard personal data and anonymize that information before it's sent to be stored and analyzed later in the cloud. And perhaps the most important law, Murphy's Law. Anything can fail, will. And when it comes to some of our most trusted industries, from our transportation systems, to our manufacturing systems, to our stores, and much more, it's critical that these systems are fault tolerant. Deploying a distributed computing architecture allows us to deliver that fault tolerance from the edge to the cloud. So ultimately, as you see on this slide, over 75% of data by 2025 will be analyzed outside of the traditional data center, creating a $65 billion market for AI at the edge and well over a 30% growth rate. It's truly a transformational opportunity. To achieve this opportunity, we're seeing many challenges. And there's three main challenges I'm going to talk about today. One, the complexity of the physical world in the existing infrastructure on the physical world. We're seeing traditional IT infrastructures merge with operational technology and communications technology. We see the complexity of different developer tools and also developer personas, traditional embedded developers, meaning cloud native developers. And the challenges of many proprietary vendor implementations as well, meaning that many enterprises are locked in to one particular vendor, limiting their ability to deliver on this value proposition of open systems powered by AI. The other challenge we find is how to deliver this in a total cost of ownership optimized way. How do we affordably deliver this value proposition of transforming industries with edge computing and AI? Well, we need to be able to create software-defined computing infrastructure common off-the-shelf equipment, not only to run traditional IT workloads, but operational technology workloads and workloads like private 5G networks as well. And to do that, though, we have to make sure our solutions are open and repeatable and not bespoke custom solutions. So how do we ensure that when we unlock and solve a problem, that can be repeated across industries and not have a custom implementation every single time? And finally, the environment at the edge. The edge environment requires different security requirements in the physical world. We not only need to secure the data at rest within the endpoint system, we need to secure the data as it moves. We need to also secure the data as it's accessed and ingested. We need to think about how you would actually deploy AI that's developed and prototyped in the cloud on power optimized custom equipment that meet the confines of the physical world at the edge. We need to be able to take our common off-the-shelf computing infrastructure and make sure it's edge native in implementation, from the I/O to the reliability, to the lifespan, to the custom capabilities such as real-time required or functional safety. These are incredibly important to deliver on that value proposition. So I want to talk a little bit about what Intel's doing to meet those broad needs and challenges of edge computing in the physical world. One, we're taking our product portfolio from our Xeon product line to our core product line to Atom, to our purpose-built edge AI accelerators from Movidius, to our FPGA technology that gives you the ultimate in reprogrammability. And we're adding edge native features and optimizations, such as real time, such as enhanced AI performance, such as functional safety. And we're exposing those technologies through a robust set of developer tools that offer performance enhancements and capabilities on the most important workloads at the edge. Deep learning at the edge, so we can make actionable insights on that data that's created with our OpenVINO toolkit. Networking at the edge, and deploying private 5G networks or SD-WAN implementations, such with our OpenNES toolkit. Transcoding rich immersive media experiences, such as augmented reality with capabilities like 3D volumetric streaming, with our Open Visual Cloud toolkit. But ultimately, where the innovation happens is it happens with companies like you and partners like you. The ecosystem of Advantech, which is unparalleled in the edge computing industry, with decades and decades of purpose-built custom hardware solving domain-specific problems. And we showcase those solutions through our market-ready solutions portfolio that deliver end-to-end repeatable offerings so enterprises don't have to create custom bespoke solutions to solve some of the challenges we see today, from cold chain monitoring solutions to make sure your food is delivered safe, or autonomous mobile robots that can manage your inventory and quickly respond to the real-time supply requirements of an ever-changing world and consumer landscapes. So I want to talk about some of the incredible technologies from the Advantech team that help us to deliver on the promise of prototype to deployment at the edge. Advantech has a purpose-built AI accelerator portfolio, so you can deploy your neural networks optimized at the edge. They also have a complementary set of host systems, purpose-built and optimized for deploying AI at the edge. They leverage Intel's OpenVINO toolkit, which gives us that last mile of optimization and performance, and allows developers to just write once in C++ or Python and deploy across our diverse product portfolio required from the edge, whether it's a CPU, whether it's the integrated graphics, whether it's the VPU or the FPGA. Advantech complements that toolkit with the Edge AI suite, adding some additional critical features for deployment at the edge. And starting in Q2, you can deploy and test your neural networks in our Intel Developer Cloud for the edge, where we've created a custom landing page for Advantech's ecosystem as well. And of course, today we have systems available today from Advantech that you can take your neural network that you trained and built in the cloud, and you can test it out on purpose-built application-specific hardware for the edge to better understand what class of performance, I/O, and power range you want to deploy on. So I want to talk a little bit about the performance enhancements we're seeing on our host processors and the amount of AI workloads that you can now do on our core class processors from Intel. This slide, we're demonstrating 5 neural networks, and we're showcasing the performance gen over gen from Intel's Coffee Lake platform to its Tiger Lake platform. And what you see on the far left in the graphs is you see the deep learning deployed on the host CPU. In the yellow, you see it deployed on the graphics, the integrated graphics process. And then you see one thing that's incredible about the OpenVINO toolkit is we can simultaneously deploy the AI on the CPU and the integrated GPU. And that's the third column in the lighter blue. Now, these implementations you could see range from a 3 to nearly 4x performance improvement gen over gen with those capabilities. And just using the CPU or the integrated graphics, you can get about a 2x performance improvement. And of course, you can continue to use the CPU for other tasks and then run the AI on the integrated GPU as well. So incredible choice and capability to run AI on your host processors using the OpenVINO toolkit in an advanced way. So I talked a little bit about our developer tools, ultimately democratizing AI development and helping developers move from the cloud to the edge. In the cloud, where they have this ubiquitous set of tools and performance and capabilities, in the edge, where we have the confines of the physical world. And Intel's doing a number of things, notably launching the industry's first Edge AI Nano degree with Udacity, which allows developers to get custom learnings and consulting and expertise on how to deploy our OpenVINO toolkit and complementary hardware platforms at the edge. Also, we have a Coursera course that will tell you more about how to train and deploy your neural network on OpenVINO optimized at the edge. And of course, if you've already developed a neural network and you just want to try before you buy a particular hardware platform, you can use our Intel Developer Cloud for the edge, where you can take your neural network, you can try it on a CPU, a GPU, you can try it on a Xeon class offering, you can try it on an Atom class offering, you can try it on Advantech hardware. and you can select the right hardware solution for your AI workload at the edge. But that's not all. We also offer reference applications, like traffic monitoring applications, like object detection applications, like real-time industrial analytics applications, reference applications that are out of the box today that showcase the promise of distributed computing at the edge, all available through our Edge Software Hub. Now, Advantech continues to deliver incredible innovation. I want to just highlight a couple market-ready solutions and RFP-ready kits that Advantech has delivered based on these technologies. Number one is one of the critical challenges we see in manufacturing is being able to predict failures. If we can predict failures, we can eliminate downtime, improve yields, improve our top-line revenue, but also our bottom-line cost structure as well. It's an incredible value proposition. And Advantech has built a platform using our OpenVINO toolkit and our core processor technologies to run real-time AI on vibration data that allows them to predict the failure probability of machines, thereby increasing uptime and performance. Fantastic value proposition. And one of the other challenges that Advantech and team have looked to address is how do we actually overcome those proprietary closed systems in the manufacturing domain? Well, with Advantech's plug-and-play capability, they've been able to enable protocol interoperability that allows us to connect data from these multi-vendor devices and make more intelligent decisions on our manufacturing environment by having data cross-platform and capability. Truly a transformational capability and technology. And I can't wait to see what incredible work that you do within Advantech's ecosystem to continue to drive these transformations. Today is the slowest day of technology innovation for the rest of our lives. And if you're here today at Advantech Connect, you're getting the latest insights on the tools and technologies required to drive transformation. As Andy said, your business could be the subject of a strategic inflection point, or it could be the cause of one. And these tools and technologies will allow you to drive industry disruption with your customers and partners versus being disrupted. For that reason, our opportunity has never been greater as an industry in deploying edge computing accelerated with AI to transform industries as we know them. Our partnership has never been more important. We cannot do this alone. As an ecosystem based on open computing standards and common off-the-shelf infrastructure, and deploying this technology will be the most cost optimized and will harness the capabilities of the existing installed infrastructure of enterprises and your clients already. That's the best way to drive this transformation. Partnership as a collective industry. And ultimately, if we do this, we can truly transform industries and enrich the lives of every person on Earth. Thank you so much and have a great Advantech Connect event. Take care.